Hey guys, my name is Matumio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Phil, and it is, I've always thought that the Assault class was overpowered in Battlefield 4, and I was wondering what you thought about creating a new medic class. This kit would use carbines alongside the medic packs and defibrillators, while the Assault class would stay the same but wouldn't have access to the medical supplies. This is an interesting concept. I know that the Battlefield community has been advocating for a change like this, because especially back in Battlefield 3, the medic class was blatantly overpowered. Like, being able to use some of the best weapons in the game alongside the med pack, which made you a one-man army, alongside the defibrillator, which allowed you to revive someone to 100% health instantaneously, it was a little bit too much. And while I do think that DICE has done a better job in Battlefield 4 at elevating the power of all of the other kits, it still seems like it's a little bit too powerful because once again, you're able to use some of the best weapons alongside the med pack. And so the idea of splitting it up and making a new class that uses the carbines, where carbines are still good, like anyone who uses a carbine in Battlefield 4 knows that you can still dominate with those weapons, but clearly isn't as good as the assault rifles, but has access to medical supplies, has access to the defibrillator and the med packs. It seems like a reasonable way at splitting up the power of the assault class and bringing in a new class that would be on par with everything else. The one problem I have with this though, and I think this might be one of the biggest restrictions for the reasons why DICE hasn't pursued this type of balancing, is what would the assault class bring to the team play table at that point? Yes, you would have some of the best weapons in the game, you would still have access to the M320 and the M26 shotgun variant, so you'd be very good at taking out people. But the only way that those gadgets might help out your teammates is maybe you can take out someone who's behind a wall, or maybe you can punch through a wall and get towards an objective a little bit faster. But that's about it. You look at every other class in the game and they have some sort of gadget that directly benefits team play. You're playing as the Recon, you have the spawn beacon, the tugs, the MAV, the support class uses the ammo bags, you're playing as the engineer, you have the repair torch and RPGs to take care of those pesky tanks, and while the medic class would fit that criteria perfectly with the ammo bag and the defibrillators, the assault would just be a killing machine. And while I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, like having one class that is completely devoted to killing enemies, like that doesn't sound like a terrible idea, especially since they're using some of the best weapons in the game, I could see where DICE would be a little hesitant going down that path, because at least with the current gadgets in the game, maybe they could add something else on in, they would have no accessories to directly promote teamwork, which is something that DICE has always been about since like the beginning of the Battlefield franchise. Overall, though, it does seem like a good way at balancing things out. I don't think it's going to happen for Battlefield 4 if it ever does, but for maybe like Bad Company 3, Battlefield 5, I would not expect this for Hardline. Maybe they'll do it for Hardline, but for a future Battlefield title, if they can come up with something creative for the Assault class and bring something new to the table that would promote teamwork, I could see this being a great way at distributing the power a little bit more and not having everyone run around as the Assault class because it has all of the amazing gadgets in the game. Solid suggestion. The next question for today is, what do you think about the idea of adding in a new wind mechanic that would affect flying a helicopter? On Paracel Storm, when the storm rolls on in, waves can be frustrating when you're driving a boat, so flying a chopper should be a pain as well. What is your opinion on this? Well, it's definitely a very interesting idea. It fits perfectly with DICE's whole evolution theme, having the environment affecting and changing the way that you play on these maps. I'm not exactly sure how they would be able to implement it, and we run into some problems. The first problem I have with it is that when you're in a boat, you can see the waves coming. You know when you're about to go over the crest, you know when you're going to go into the trough, and you can compensate for that. And you can even use it to your advantage if you know and you've been playing in boats since day one, and you have a firm grasp on the mechanics. The problem with wind, though, is how would they go about allowing players to interact with it and not just having it be completely random? It would suck if you were just flying in a helicopter and all of a sudden you got hit by a wind, you couldn't see the wind or anything like that, and then your helicopter tips to the left or the right, you're already going to the left, it causes you to crash into a tree and then you die. not exactly sure if that is what people are looking for in Battlefield. And so I think the first hurdle that DICE would have to overcome is giving an indication to the player that wind is now getting stronger, or the wind is now going to affect you more than it was before. They could maybe do this with rain. The rain could fly from a different direction, and that would be an indication that you're about to get blown one way or the other. Maybe they could have little updrafts. I'm not sure. Like, being able to illustrate how wind is going to affect a helicopter doesn't sound like it would be the easiest thing to implement. But if they are able to do it correctly, my next issue with it is, would this just put a further strain on servers because they're having to send out more information to everyone around you, and would this cause netcode problems? I'm not a developer by any means, maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about, but this sounds like a system that would require more information to be sent to the players, and the more information that is being sent out and the more that they're having to receive, it could cause some problems in that regard. And so while, yes, it would make things more realistic, I'm sure if you were flying in a helicopter in a storm, you're gonna be bouncing around because of the wind. Like, I'm sure that's guaranteed. But in a video game where it would be probably a little bit too random, like when you're already flying in a helicopter, there's a lot of things that are already random up there, and adding in one more factor doesn't sound like it would be all that enjoyable. It would probably be very hard for DICE to even illustrate where the wind is coming from, so it doesn't just feel like a random number generator. And also, would this just amplify the netcode problems? And so while I think that this fits perfectly with Levolution, it fits perfectly with DICE's philosophy on, you know, trying to make the environment interact with you a little bit more, I'm not 100% sold on it right now. The next question for today is, what do you think about DICE adding in the red hit markers from Battlefield Hardline when you got a headshot? I thought this was a great feature from the beta, and I would love to see it in Battlefield 4. I 100% agree with you. That was one of my favorite additions to Battlefield Hardline. The beta was a little janky, it had its problems, but that was amazing. Like, it gave you great feedback, it let you know when you got a headshot on someone, so that you then knew that you only needed to probably get one more bullet into your enemy to take them out, and you weren't just wasting or shooting a bunch of rounds down range because you didn't realize that you got a headshot. I thought it was an amazing feature, a great addition into the game, and what's awesome is that this could potentially be something that they add into Battlefield 4. There was a recent tweet by a DICE developer saying that they have plans on adding in the vehicle mechanics that were from Battlefield Hardline beta, or from Battlefield Hardline, and adding it into the CTE server. They haven't said when they're going to be adding it on in, they haven't given us a schedule by any means, but the simple fact that they made improvements to vehicles, like, I don't know if you remember it, but Battlefield Hardline, the vehicles just felt so much better. They felt more responsive, a little bit more arcadey, which I know some people weren't a fan of, but in general, crashing, the hit registration was way better than it is right now. Bringing in those features for an upcoming game, which could potentially be a selling point, but giving it to a past Battlefield game is great in my opinion. Like, tip of my hat to the developers, tip of the hat who's ever in charge of those ideas, because that's just great for the fans, it's great for the community, and it only benefits us. So I think that's great. And so with that in mind, maybe, just maybe, they could also bring in the red hit marker for getting a headshot. I would love it. I know that a lot of my friends would love it. I think many people in the Battlefield community would appreciate that. And so while it's definitely not confirmed, we haven't heard anything along these lines, it could be coming down in the future. The next question for today comes from Smitty, and it is, what is your opinion on servers kicking for a high ping? Since my internet connection is not very good, I get kicked quite frequently. Sometimes my ping is about 150 and I will still get kicked. Well, admittedly, I love playing on these types of servers because I hate fighting against people with a ping of like 200, 250. I've even gone against players with like 400 ping. It was absurd. It's like, are you even playing the game at that point? Because the netcode, no matter how good it is never going to be able to compensate for a ping that is that high. Like, there's just going to be a delay. It's always going to be in there for that massive ping delay, and it causes serious issues gameplay-wise. But for your circumstance, I completely sympathize. If you just simply have a terrible internet connection because of your internet provider, or you're, you know, way out in the boonies and you just can't get high-speed internet, I still want you to play Battlefield. I still want you to enjoy it. And so my one recommendation is find servers that won't kick you. They're out there, trust me, especially if you're playing in the United States. There are plenty of servers that are not going to kick you for a high ping count. Favorite them and just play on those. You may come across some people that will complain about your your high ping, but just ignore them. Like, you know, there's nothing you can do, or I'm assuming there's nothing you can do. Favorite those servers and enjoy Battlefield. That would be my one suggestion. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.